morning. It's another foggy start. Look how cool that is. But Mike says we'll see some showers and thunderstorms today. Mike, it seems like it's a little bit of everything.
It's like lower Manhattan right there, kind of the peninsula.
Oh, you're
you know
so
what I mean?
right.
All the way it goes out, yeah.
What an interesting
show. We thank you. Well, hopefully your Friday morning is off to a great start. It's at least going to be warmer outside.
It is. You know, the record set back most recently on this date in 2000 is 70.
Okay.
We're going to be close to that. And I think a few of us, especially south of the city, are going to get into the 70s today. So we have warmer weather. It's going to be wetter. We're still dealing with that fog. It's been there pretty much all week long. Storm risk, especially northwest of the city at 9. That's where it's going to start. But then these showers and storms will overspread more of Chicagoland later today. By noon, already upper 50s, and then way into the 60s, with parts of the area getting into the 70s. Windy, though, and warmer, and the fog will be gone finally. It's 45 and foggy at O'Hare. East-southeast winds only at 5 miles per hour. The temperatures across the area range from only 39 at Waukegan to 52 at Joliet and Gary, 46 at Midway, Chicago Heights right now, 49. Here are the visibility numbers. O'Hare getting a little bit better. It's been 1/8 of a mile all morning, now up to 3/4, but you see fog blanketing pretty much all of Chicagoland. Let's see what impact that's having on the commute. Anthony?
You're doing pretty smoothly outside here. Your inbound drive time on the Kennedy, only 36 minutes at 7 o'clock. So Friday light is in effect. O'Hare to downtown, 36. Eisenhower Expressway, you're at 31 minutes, Route 390 to downtown. Similar drive time on the Stevenson, it's just over a half hour coming in from I-355 to Lakeshore Drive. And on the Dan Ryan, you're at 23 minutes, 95th to downtown. I also really quick want to mention that there has been at least one cancellation, a canceled train on the Milwaukee District North line. So be aware of that. Check that Ventra app if you use Milwaukee District North. All right, some news now. The U.S. says that attacks will intensify as Israel continues to launch strikes against Iran and Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Iran also launched more drones and missiles against Israel and some locations in Saudi Arabia overnight. U.S. Central Command, though, says the rate of retaliatory attacks and drone strikes out of Iran have actually plummeted since Saturday. President Trump pushed again on Thursday for Iranians to take to the streets.
Now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country.
All right, while U.S. officials say a ground invasion is not in the works, they have also not ruled it out.
Reaction continues to pour in after the shakeup within the Trump administration. Kristi Noem has been removed from her position as Homeland Security Secretary. The move comes after Noem was grilled on Capitol Hill over her management of the department. The tipping point stemming from her testimony claiming President Trump approved a $220 million ad campaign for DHS. Now, the president says not only did he not authorize the spending, he did not know about the ads. Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen will take over the position and serve in an acting role, but will need to be confirmed by the Senate first.
It's just, pretty humbling when you start thinking about it. A little kid from Westville, Oklahoma, gets to serve in the president's cabinet.
A change in personnel is not sufficient. We need a change in policy. And that has to be bold, dramatic, transformational, and meaningful.
Noem will serve as special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. It's a new initiative focusing on security in the Western Hemisphere.
More than 20 states, including Illinois, file a lawsuit over new global tariffs imposed by President Trump. The group of Democratic-led states argue the president is overstepping his power. Last month, the Supreme Court struck down tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The president then said he would use a different law to levy new tariffs. All right, back here locally, Reverend Jesse Jackson is going to be celebrated today for his long and brave fight for civil rights.
Our Saquon is live at the House of Hope with today's services. Good morning, Say.
Hey, good morning to you. Well, we still have a few hours left to go before the celebrations all really start. But you can see here, there's a whole line of people waiting for these doors to open up here in just a little bit. We actually saw this line form probably in the last half hour or so is when it really started ramping up. And I can tell you right now, just, for perspective, we've seen Secret Service walking around here, making sure that they're doing their rounds and doing their checks. We've just learned that media is now allowed inside. So everything is starting to get underway as we speak. This This morning, though, I do want to introduce you to my new friends, Ray and Brian. And obviously, you guys have known the Reverend for quite some time. Tell people about your connection to the Reverend, and we'll start with you, Ray.
So it's a pleasure to say that I know the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson because he inspired a dream inside of me as a young student at Langston University when he first ran for, or second time he ran for president. We were encouraged to have him visit the campus. We were encouraged to jump on and encourage all of our friends to come out and vote and get registered to vote. That was a big deal. And so that dream sort of landed in our lap, and I would later go on and get myself involved in Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, where one of our main goals is voting. And so to be able to go into our communities and encourage people to vote, encourage people to stand for justice, and encourage people to understand that your neighbor is just as important as your family is. And that's what Reverend Jackson left a dream and a hope for us for all of these years, and we're going to continue the dream.
Yeah, continue building on that legacy for sure. Brian, I know you have kind of a similar story as well. Tell me about your connection to the Reverend, how long you've known him, and maybe give us some fun facts too.
Well, not personally known, but so many associates and pastors that he's poured into in Indiana and Ohio over the decades. And again, as a young child, he was my dad's hero. So you can imagine growing up on a farm and seeing your father raise hogs to sell, to give to his campaign, the beginning of his search campaign for his first run. This man was so impactful to African American men in our culture at that particular time, because there was he's the force multiplier in our culture. I believe he's one of the greatest Americans we've ever produced. It'll be wonderful to sit in heaven and hang out with him and Paul, right? And so as far as us coming here from Ohio, we just wanted to support the family, support the community. We love Chicago, Rainbow Push, everything that he stood for, and we're going to not try to embarrass him and his legacy.
Absolutely. I think, one of the biggest conversations right now that I think is a shared message for a lot of people is what next? What comes next? What happens to the torch? Who carries that torch from now on? What do you think Reverend would say about that?
He says that the words that I've left for you, review those words and carry those words forth. All of us are the torch bearers at this point, and so that's our responsibility to move forward with the vision that he left for us, and we will not let up. He tirelessly fought for justice, not only in this country but around the world, and that's our mission right now.
Absolutely. And Ray, you mentioned the vision he left for us. What do you think he makes of this vision right now? I mean, given the current state of the world right now, what do you think would be his message to that?
I think he would say, keep hope alive, and then I would think he would say, keep talking and keep communicating. We're all human. We all have the same needs, basic needs. We all should be caring about each other, whether you're here in America or around the globe. I mean, a child in Gaza is the same as a child here in his eyes. And so if we walk in the faith that he walked and kept the perspective that he kept, and remember now, we know he wasn't flawless, right? None of us are. And that's what's so precious about him. He could show that, and yet still in the persecution. I mean, the first time I had ever heard of a Secret Service person and heard his code name was Pontiac. Back then in the 70s, and that stood for poor old Negro thinks it's a Cadillac, right? So we've always been under persecution and pressure, but the best comes out under pressure, just like a diamond, right? And so this is our diamond.
I think you encapsulated that really well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Guys, back here at House of Hope, though, as I mentioned, there is a huge line forming already. This celebration doesn't start until about 11 o'clock this morning, but you can see people are here to remember the legacy of the Reverend and celebrate that legacy as well. Everything gets started again at 11 o'clock this morning. Guys.
Thank you, Say, and make sure to thank those two gentlemen for us as well. Such great stories coming out of the service as we await it. Today's home homegoing service starts at 11, as they said, with the musical prelude to start. From there and after the call to order, Dr. Michael Flager will start things off with prayer, followed by additional remarks. Yusuf Jackson will open the service today, and after that, we're expecting to hear many remarks from family members to politicians. That includes Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, as well as former Presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and former Vice President Kamala Harris. In other news, a proposed data center project in Joliet is moving forward. It was approved last night by the City Plan Commission. The development will be the largest one in the state, and it is dividing the city. The council chambers were packed last night with multiple overflow rooms. The data center would be built on 795 acres of farmland on Joliet's east side. It would require large amounts of water for cooling and electricity to power the digital storage and AI functions that would operate inside. There was support and concern for the proposal.
Joliet has a generational opportunity in front of it to attract a major long-term investment that can create jobs, strengthen the tax base, and signal that Joliet is open for responsible growth.
These are mega rich people. They're not here doing charitable acts for us. They're not coming from Virginia. They're not coming from Texas because they love Joliet. I'm here because I love Joliet, and I don't want our utility bills to go up.
The data center proposal will now go before the City Council for a vote on March 16th. Let's talk about some sports. The Bears continue to make some moves to clear money and increase their cap space, but they also have plenty of holes to fill as well.
First up, a shakeup on offense. Bears traded DJ Moore and a 5th-round pick to the Bills for a 2nd-round pick in exchange. That move frees up more than $16 million in cap space after the Bears drafted Colston Loveland and Luther Burden III. Moore finished with a career-low 50 catches and 682 yards last season.
But Anthony, the Bears weren't done just there. As expected, it was announced last night they are releasing linebacker Tremaine Edmunds. Now remember, we said the Bears announced more than a week ago that Edmunds was given permission to seek a trade. Now the Bears will save $15 million by not bringing him back.
All right, taking a live look outside at 7:12 on your Friday morning. Again, I'm going to go with the comparison to Lower Manhattan right there. And it looks like the Hudson, the clouds being the Hudson River. You know what I mean?
I see it.
Yeah, the fog continues to linger.
This has been one of the more persistent fog situations in recent memory. Obviously, it came and went in spots yesterday, but the fact that we're still talking about a dense fog advisory for the area is rather remarkable. Several days of this now. And we've got thunderstorms on our doorstep here coming at us from the west. Pretty good line, too, that produced some gusts close to 50 miles per hour. I'll turn on the lightning here, and you can see there is definitely some electrification there in the Rockford area. So we're moving right over Interstate 39. This is still a couple hours away from getting into Chicagoland, but it's coming, and it is not going to be stopped. There is that dense fog advisory in effect for all of Chicagoland until 10 o'clock this morning. Interestingly, once that rain comes in here, it's actually going to help kind of mix that fog out of the atmosphere. Today, you know, this would be a day, if we didn't have to deal with the thunderstorms and the fog, you'd be celebrating how warm it's going to get. I'm going to go for 68 for the official high at O'Hare. If we hit 70 there, it would tie the record for this date set back most recently in 2000. But we've got scattered showers and thunderstorms. There will be a temperature spread across the area. Far north and near the lake, maybe only low 60s. You get into the I-80 corridor and point south, low to mid 70s on the way. Showers and storms could be rather frisky here, even into the nighttime hours, wee hours of the morning tomorrow. So watch out. Could be maybe some gusty storms overnight. Low temperature of 58 degrees. I'll give you a look at the 7-day forecast, including a reminder. Daylight saving time starts this weekend.
No.
Boo for us on the morning shift. But I get to do the evening shift next week, so I don't care.
You dodged a bullet there, sir.
Mike.
Okay. All right. We'll all suffer, except for Mike. Okay. The CTA is just weeks away from having to fulfill a very important deadline in order to get federal dollars. They got to submit another safety plan. We're going to talk about what could be in that. Welcome back. Here is a live look. Well, we're trying to take a live look over the city right now. That fog is lingering. Look at that. We'll check in with Mike in just a moment. All right, some entertainment news now. Grammy-winning pop star Britney Spears in some legal trouble after being arrested in Southern California. The 44-year-old was taken into custody on suspicion of DUI. Authorities say she was booked and later released. In a statement, her manager called the incident unfortunate and inexcusable, adding that Spears plans to take the necessary steps to comply with the law. She is scheduled to appear back in court in May.
The DOJ is releasing nearly 50,000 documents linked to Jeffrey Epstein. The Wall Street Journal reports some files mention President Trump. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee has voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi over the investigation. They're also requesting Bill Gates to participate in testimony.
The CTA is 2 weeks away from having to fulfill an important deadline. The federal government is requiring the CTA to submit a new safety plan after several violent incidents that have happened on our trains here. The CTA says it'll be submitting the plan by March 19th. That's the deadline here. The Federal Transit Administration told the CTA to submit a new safety plan since the agency said the CTA's plan failed to set monthly reduction targets for assaults over the next 6 months. The group that is called Violence Interrupters has been riding the CTA for months, and they say that they have successfully de-escalated dozens of incidents that could have turned violent.
You need people that understand the population of individuals that board the trains. That's most important. You got to have people on them trains that know how it looks. You know how it looks when a person is about to commit an act of violence. So my thing is, once you get the right individuals on the train that know how to communicate and network with that population, you'll be okay.
120 police officers to patrol buses and trains, and that is up from 77 in the months prior.
I'm looking behind Mike right now, and I see that he has a radar up.
Incoming.
And look outside right now. It looks a little more wet maybe than the last time we saw this camera. Mike, what do you have planned?
We've had some drizzle and fog, and that's kind of kept things damp around the area. But this is bona fide rain and thunder on the way. Been watching this all morning long, and we're now crossing the Interstate 39 corridor, turning on the lightning, and indeed, there are thunderstorms there. Let's zoom in on some of this activity. It's still quite a bit west of Chicagoland, but it's coming. Raining and thundering around Rockford, and then south towards Sterling, Rock Falls. Here's Interstate 39 that goes into LaSalle County. Chicagoland still dry, but that rain is moving in here, and it may come down quite heavily. Look at our Weather Authority Futurecast, which shows the showers and thunderstorms arriving here in the next couple of hours. Could be some heavy rain, maybe some small hail and 40 to 50 mile an hour winds with this initial activity. And then throughout the day, scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue. In fact, there's a chance we might actually get some severe weather in here. The Storm Prediction Center does have a good portion of Chicagoland outlooked for a level 2 or slight risk of severe weather, while the rest of Chicagoland, including most of Cook County, Will County, Northwest Indiana, in that lower marginal risk area for a severe thunderstorm. So be weather ready today and tonight. Could be a stronger thunderstorm. 1 or 2 warnings are possible. I'm not expecting a widespread outbreak of severe weather. I do expect a big temperature rise today. I go for 68 at O'Hare, just shy of the record, but you get far enough south, you'll be in the mid-70s this afternoon. I think south of I-80, a little bit cooler at the lakefront and also far north. 7-day forecast, showers and storms exit early tomorrow morning. Temperatures will be falling to around 50 in the afternoon. Daylight saving time starts. Set your clocks ahead 1 hour when you go to bed tomorrow night. Beautiful day, though. Sunday, Monday looking gorgeous. Then we deal with the next storm system with some rain Tuesday and Wednesday as cooler temperatures move in. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Illinois lawmakers are pushing for new protections for victims of sexual assault in schools. And after this break, I'm going to be talking with one of the state senators that is behind this bill.
sure and I approve this ad.
Welcome back. Illinois lawmakers are pushing for new protections for victims of sexual assault in schools. State Senator Steve McClure of Springfield joins us now to tell us more about a new bill making its way through the legislature. State Senator McClure, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Okay, so first up, what is House Bill 2991?
What it says that if a student commits sexual assault or attempts to commit sexual assault at school, at a school event, at a bus stop, or on the school bus, then they are going to be expelled automatically for at least 1 year.
Okay, so it sets the kind of minimum.
Yes.
At a 1-year suspension. I understand there was an incident a very concerning incident that happened in your district that kind of was a predecessor to the bill. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
That is right. I wasn't aware of all the sexual assaults that take place across our state and schools until this happened. It happened in Christian County. We had a 10-year-old girl who was attacked in a sexual way on a school bus from a Monday through a Friday. And the school was aware of what was happening, didn't tell parents, didn't separate the students, and then she gets off the school bus on Friday, and she is sexually assaulted after getting off the school bus by this 14-year-old boy. So police were called, the boy admitted what he did, and the school then allows that student to still ride the same school bus the next week. So you've got this 10-year-old victim who has to get back on the school bus with someone who raped her after she got off the school bus just a week prior to that.
That is absolutely horrifying. That's horrifying. And so this would basically make it the law that anytime a situation like that happens, it's an automatic expulsion for a year.
That's right. And my bill would have stopped this the week of the assault, earlier in the week, because if you attempt to sexually assault someone, you're automatically expelled. So we put those in the same category. And just to give you some comparisons here, if you bring brass knuckles to school, even if you don't use them, you're expelled for at least a year. And yet, if you rape someone in a school bathroom, there's no automatic expulsion. It's pretty crazy.
Okay, so what is, I understand there are certain safety plans in place for school district that they have. This goes further than these safety plans that are right now. It sounds like the safety plans are falling short.
Well, that's right. In the situation in Christian County, they put in place a safety plan, and part of that safety plan was to have the perpetrator go on the school bus with younger kids. And the parents of those kids were not notified, the students themselves were not notified, and so you've got a real danger in schools right now that we're trying to address with this bill. And I thought that might be an isolated incident, but then I've heard over the course of this last year, incident after incident where schools did not take the appropriate measures to protect students. Most schools do take these measures, but some schools don't, and there's a lot of high-profile lawsuits, including in Chicagoland, where students have been awarded, in one case, over $3 million because the school failed to protect the student from sexual assault.
Okay, so you said that this is the most co-sponsored bill. Where is it in the legislature? What kind of support is it getting, and is it getting any pushback?
So right now, I'm not aware of anybody that's opposed to the bill, and we've got more co-sponsors, Democrats and Republicans, than any bill in the state Senate. It is set to go before the Criminal Law Committee next week, and if it passes that committee, then it's got to go through the Education Committee as well. After that, if it passes that committee, it's going to go to the floor, and then it would have to repeat the entire process back in the House.
Okay. Well, thank you for getting us updated on the status of that. Keep us posted, and we appreciate you being here in studio.
Thank you very much.
State Senator McClure, thank you so much for being here, sir. We appreciate it. Okay, it is 7:28. We're going to take a quick break. The fog lingers. We'll be right back.
responsible for the content of this ad.
Welcome back. Today, Chicago is going to be saying goodbye to a civil rights legend. We are live at homegoing services for Reverend Jesse Jackson at House of Hope. And we are expecting a lot of big names at today's service, including former Presidents Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Bill Clinton.
Our Saquon is live at House of Hope before doors open to the public. Good morning, Say.
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, I mean, the celebrations all start at around 11 o'clock this morning, and you can see this massive line forming already, which, by the way, only started in about the last 30 minutes to an hour or so. We've seen a massive crowd out here. We've heard some incredible stories from people who are here to remember his legacy and carry that forward. And one of those people is Jim Palmore. Jim, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us. Tell me about your connection to Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Well, I have sung at Push a number of times. I've talked with him a few times. We weren't buddy-buddy, but I've talked to him and been in his presence, and it was fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Now, obviously, you know, everyone is here for the same reason, and that is, of course, to remember and honor him. You and I talked about this before we went live on air here, and we talked about passing that torch to the next generation, the younger people who may know his name but not necessarily know the extent of what he has done for so many people. What does that look like moving forward as we continue to try to carry that legacy forward?
Well, I think the important thing is that they see it and they understand it. As far as carrying it forward, I believe that it's different because of times. Back when Reverend Jackson and Andrew Young and Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy, they did their thing. There were marches, and those were visible, physical presence that the nation needed to see. I believe the nation needs to see it now. But today, young people have a tool in their hands that almost makes marching an obsolete thing, and that's the phone. They can reach a lot of people on the phone, but physical presence means more than we can account for because people see it. The world sees it, and the world sees and understands this man must have meant something to somebody. Reverend Jackson was one of the first national figures to give young black people an identity when he told them, you are somebody. You're just not Johnny and Sue, but you are somebody and that you matter. And that helped gravitate the young people to him. And they marched behind him. They stood behind him. And that's why Push was so vibrant, especially in the 70s and the 80s, because of what he imparted in them and put in them.
Okay, just one quick question here. How do you hope the younger generation does remember Reverend Jackson moving forward? There's so much to teach the next generation of people about the work that he's done.
I think the greatest thing that they could possibly do is to first realize their value, that they are somebody. And if you can get that inside of you, that can be a motivating factor to push you out, to do something, to help somebody, to help somebody else see that they matter, that their lives matter. And so if young people can just grasp it and understand the historical context of I am somebody, then I think that'll go a long way.
Jim Palmore for us, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Well, we have had so many incredible conversations with so many people here, people traveling from Indiana, people traveling from outskirts of, Illinois. So we'll be talking with people all throughout the morning, guys. We'll check back in with you soon.
And I bet every single person that line has a great story to tell. Thank you so much, Say. We'll catch up with you again. And as we head to break, here's a look at your drive time. Stay close. Carolina.
The average price of gas has spiked since the start of the conflict with Iran. We are talking 34 cents per gallon in 1 week for Illinois, and in Indiana, 41 cents.
And low gas prices have been a part of President Trump's pitch to voters, as we remember, and he says prices will fall soon.
If we have a little high oil prices for a little while, but as soon as this ends, those prices are going to drop, I believe, lower than even before.
But with no end to the conflict in sight, it's likely oil costs will keep climbing and those prices at the pump will too. Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy joins us now. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, our pleasure. Patrick, let's start off by having you break down why you think the conflict is causing prices to rise so sharply here in the short term.
Yeah, a lot of this is simply the Strait of Hormuz. The de facto closure is preventing shipping of 20 to 25 million barrels of oil every single day, and that's going to be exponentially more difficult every day to catch back up on once there is confidence to sail through the Strait of Hormuz. So look for some comments on that in the days and weeks ahead. But I mean, this cannot be understated that, you know, every situation is slightly different. This is not Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but oil prices are now starting to come a little bit unhinged at the prospect of essentially Middle Eastern producers may be forced to shut down because there's nowhere to put the oil that they're pumping.
You know, I know it's probably hard to predict, Patrick, but how much more can we expect prices to rise? Is there a number that's even in mind?
You know, I think where we stand this morning, and keeping in mind that the situation does continue to evolve, the average price in Chicago, $3.50 a gallon here this morning for the metro area. That's up 32 cents from last week. I think we could see prices continue to climb closer to $4. I don't know at this moment that there's enough momentum to get to the $4 mark, but all it takes is a few more days of the Strait of Hormuz essentially being shut down for us to get there. And we're also amidst the spring changeover. The summer gasoline transition has begun. So there's also the seasonal factors that are going to be weighing on gas prices. So it's not going to take much more for us to get to that $4 a gallon mark. But as the president said, maybe not quite the amount of optimism that he has. Once this is solved, prices should go back down. But the question is if and when it will be solved is the real turning point here between getting to $4 and potentially starting to see some gas price relief. None of that relief is in sight just yet. I'll be crossing my fingers that something gets addressed fairly soon.
Yeah, so will every driver. Patrick, I got to ask you, I was under the impression that the U.S. was a lot more independent when it came to our oil needs. Does it surprise you that this is having, I mean, is that the case? And does it surprise you that we're seeing these spikes as a result of this essentially closure of the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, it's a very political term to call ourselves energy independent because very quickly, while we are the while we are the world's largest oil producer, it doesn't really matter much because oil is so much a global commodity. And now we can't fence ourselves off from this, right? And so that's been a political term that has been used to describe the U.S. and it makes things sound great. But at the same time, the Strait of Hormuz ships 7 million barrels more of oil per day through it than we produce. So this is a vital waterway that can't be understated. And again, just kind of highlights the farce that you're never truly independent. We can't cut ourselves off from the global economy. And that is why prices are spiking today, because everyone is open to this. Every oil consuming and producing country is seeing prices go up because this is such a key waterway and it needs to be addressed.
You know, guys, and this comes as, you know, selfishly kind of an unfortunate time with spring break travel, you know, heading here in the near future. Patrick, what advice do you have for people maybe planning a trip?
Yeah, well, set a little bit more money aside and start reactivating those apps like Gas Buddy and using Google Maps and ways to find the lowest prices. Amidst this, there's still savings to be had, to your point. Remove the excess weight out of your vehicle. You know, if you're not using your bike rack or your roof rack, take it off your car. Try to drive more fuel efficiently. Sign up for loyalty programs. Many stations offer them. They'll roll your price back 5 or 10 cents a gallon. But ultimately, I think to your point, there's not a whole lot you can do but set a little bit more money aside. The only good news, I guess, looking at it optimistically, prices are not likely to rise to records, at least yet. And prices, while they're jumping, we've seen issues with refineries push prices up more in past instances. So the pace of climbs is alarming. I do expect prices will continue to climb. So be prepared if you're hitting the road for spring break. Again, use those tips. It could certainly save you a few dollars every fill up.
Good advice. Good advice. We'll buckle in here. Patrick Tahan with Gas Buddy. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Mike Kaplan time. I don't know if we're going to have to bust out the bicycles, ride around a little more.
I'm going to start walking home now.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I get halfway there.
Exactly.
You pointed out that shot looks like it could be Manhattan Island. You know, we have fog, another day of fog. This has really been a remarkable stretch of that. But the fog is going to be going away here as rain and thunderstorms move in. Current temperatures, Joliet, one of the hot spots, 53. We have 52 at Gary, but it's only 40 at Waukegan. And today there will be a temperature disparity from north and lakeside to some of our southern suburbs where temperatures, I think, are going to get in the mid-70s later. Dense fog advisory, all of Chicagoland until 10 o'clock. Fog will probably linger a little bit longer right up against the lakeshore today. Visibility starting to come up where the rain is falling, but the fog, once that goes away, it's going to be because we have showers and thunderstorms, and some of those could be strong. Highest risk of anything severe in the yellow shaded level 2 slight risk area. The rest of Chicagoland, including most of Cook County, Will, Kankakee, all of you in Northwest Indiana, that lesser chance of a severe thunderstorm. I think we're all going to get a thunderstorm. Here you see them approaching from the west. This will overspread Chicagoland over the next couple of hours. Heavy rainfall, maybe some small hail, and 40 to 50 mile an hour winds could accompany some of the stronger storms. I'm going to go for 68 for the high today. 70 is the record set most recently in 2000, but there will be a temperature spread from far north to far south between about 62 and 75 degrees. We're going to take a quick break here as we approach 7:45. We'll be right back after this.
Time is now 7:48. Here's a look at some of the top stories that we're following this morning.
Yes, today Chicago is saying goodbye. The nation really is saying goodbye to Reverend Jesse Jackson. As we take a look at the funeral car there, we understand his casket is being moved at the moment. Got a team on the ground there, inside House of Hope, outside House of Hope. And this is a very big deal. We know former presidents Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, all among the guests that are expected to attend today's service. And remember, even though the lines are forming, doors themselves don't open until 9 o'clock, with the service starting at 11. Our team is there. We will have you covered all morning long.
And in some other news, Operation Epic Fury is entering a 7th day. U.S. Central Command says U.S. forces have hit more than 2,000 targets inside Iran, and the regime's ballistic missile strikes are down 90% since they started retaliating. Iran's foreign minister says there are no talks to end the fighting, even as President Trump says Iranians are asking for a deal. Trump said in an interview with Axios he has to be involved in selecting Iran's next leader.
Kristi Noem may be out as Homeland Security Secretary, but this may not protect her from an investigation, perhaps legal action. Senator Richard Blumenthal says he is looking into whether Noem perjured herself, claiming under oath that she some false things during her testimony yesterday on Tuesday. Noem had said that Corey Lewandowski, one of her top advisors, did not approve contracts for DHS. Blumenthal, though, says that evidence suggests otherwise. We'll keep an eye on that development. 7:49. Here's a quick look at your drive times as we head to break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Good Day.
Fox 30.
For the content of this ad.
7:52. Welcome back. Today, Chicago saying goodbye to civil rights legend Reverend Jesse Jackson. You're taking a look at the hearse leaving Legislating Sun Funeral Home, making its way to House of Hope, where we have a crew there right now. Many people often are probably lining the streets, saying their goodbyes. We know that not only did he make a big impact here in Chicago, but of course all over the world, changing things really in until the end.
Yeah, and you can see the huge lines already forming to pay their respects outside House of Hope. Doors open at 9, and really great to hear from some of the folks in attendance today. Saquon is out there, and she's been talking to folks all morning, each of them with a unique reflection.
I mentioned to her, you know, probably anyone in this line has a special and unique story about their experience and chatting with Reverend Jesse Jackson, or maybe going to some of his services, hearing him speak. You know, we hear so often that some of his, you know, places where he gave those speeches and he talked to crowds were just so impactful.
My very first day as an intern, I got to meet Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
Through Mike Flannery. And I remember being so starstruck. And then one of my early memories of Jesse Jackson was the way he did these call and response things with young people. And they were so engaged in what he was saying. And he was really delivering this message of inspiration. And I knew that it would just rile these kids up, and they would get so excited that he was in their corner. This is at Rainbow Push over the years. And this is a very big deal here. You can see the crowd there. We were talking about, so House of Hope is absolutely massive. There's going to be thousands of people there. And among the attendees, we have some big names coming to this thing, Gabby.
We do. I know former presidents, Barack Obama expected, Joe Biden and Bill Clinton are among some of the guests that are attending. Remember, doors open, don't open till 9 o'clock, and the service starts at 11. I'm glad to see that this weather is kind of holding off a little bit. I know Mike's going to give us an update soon. But again, I think rain or shine, you know, people are sit here and pay their respects to Reverend Jesse Jackson. My most recent experience with the Reverend was on Juneteenth this last summer. And I believe we were in a parade, and it ended, I think, in the Englewood neighborhood. I'm going to have to look up our story. And, you know, even with him, you know, being wheelchair bound, battling this neurodegenerative disease, he still had this presence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He still had this presence.
Sure.
And so we're glad that everyone really gets a chance to, of course, celebrate his life. And we'll have you covered with all this coverage all morning long. We have plenty more Good Day Chicago ahead. Please keep it right here.
Electric.
New research shows fewer pregnant women are receiving Tylenol in ERs after the Trump administration made unfounded claims about the drug causing autism and a link between acetaminophen and autism. The study found that Tylenol orders were actually down 10% for pregnant patients between the months of September and December. Pregnant women usually take Tylenol for pain or fevers. Untreated fevers during pregnancy can increase the risk of a miscarriage or other preterm birth problems.
A judge has sentenced a Wisconsin man to life in prison in connection with a plot to assassinate President Donald Trump. 17-year-old Nikita Kasap shot and killed his stepfather and mother in their Waukesha home after being drawn into a radical political scam. Prosecutors say Kasap planned to use his parents' cash to fund his plan. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide.